I've been thinking a lot lately, and it seems like today, more than ever, we are living in an ever progressing world of convenience. Because every tool, asset, or piece of entertainment you could possibly need is right at your fingertips. If you want to watch a movie, it takes 30 seconds to start up Netflix and find something you're probably going to like. If you want to listen to your favorite song, what do? You open up Spotify, and within a minute, you can find a perfectly curated playlist that uses algorithms to find the music that's best suited for you. And you'll probably play those on repeat, and you'll probably enjoy yourself. There's nothing outwardly wrong with this. These advancements are incredibly helpful, and they generally make our lives easier and more enjoyable. Technological innovations have streamlined nearly every aspect of our daily routines. Washing machines make doing dishes easier. Vacuums simplify cleaning. And modern improvements in communication tools have enabled remote work for countless industries, something we couldn't really do even 5 years ago. We're constantly finding ways to save time, reduce effort, and live more efficiently. But at what point does convenience take away our agency as human beings? I had a friend recently show me a new feature on his iPhone as part of the new Apple Intelligence Suite called AI Notification Summaries. And it was the first kind of trigger that got me to start thinking about putting together this video. Now, keep in mind, I have an iPhone 14, so I can't actually use this feature. Everything I know about it has been from him and, research I've done before this video. These notification summaries are supposed to provide you with a quick way to glance at important information from your apps or text messages from friends and family. Basically, if you get, say, 5 text messages from your friend, it's going to summarize those messages into a short sentence or two so that you don't have to read each individual notification you've received. Now, on the surface level, this really doesn't seem like anything too crazy. It's just kind of a feature that Apple will argue is a way to save you time if you're in a rush. But how much time does that really save you? Like 5 seconds maybe? This feature, subtle as it may seem, embodies a growing trend where convenience begins to chip away at meaningful experiences. When someone takes the time to craft a message in any communication form, even a text message, choosing their words carefully to convey tone, nuance, or even humor, that reflects a deliberate effort to connect with another person on an intimate level. And that's the cornerstone of what makes us human, the ability to communicate with each other. By allowing AI to reduce these messages into rephrased, context-stripped snippets, we lose the personal touch that makes communication meaningful. I was really trying to understand the innovation and, technological prowess when I was shown this feature, but it really just kind of ended up pissing me off. And even worse, it assumes the recipient doesn't need or even want to engage with the full context of what was originally written, destroying the depth of that whole interaction. In trying to save a few seconds, these summaries risk turning thoughtful human moments into what basically amounts to transactional noise. And I think that's really the core of the thoughts I've been having recently as it relates to how our society is developing and the way we operate in our daily lives. With AI developing so rapidly and these new crazy breakthroughs happening every day, it's really not insane anymore to think that in a few decades we'll be living alongside robots, androids, automated humans, whatever they're going to be called. And I think that time is closer than we think it is. I mean, Tesla is already planning and upscaling its recently showcased fleet of autonomous humanoid robots. And when that comes, they're going to be first sold to corporations and then down the line, private citizens when prices go down. And all of that in the pursuit of convenience and streamlining our lives. Doesn't that just sound great? And now that we in the US have a president that not only supports the interests of these billionaire moguls and corporate CEOs, but seemingly has them influence legislation in the government, it's no secret that these corporations and entities are gonna keep selling convenience to us, to the point it takes away our own autonomy altogether. Now, this has genuinely scared me recently, and unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot we as private citizens can do to stop or even slow this process, other than, I guess, lobbying against it and boycotting these companies, which frankly, I don't have a lot of experience with or know how to get that kind of stuff started. But there is something you can do personally to at least keep your peace of mind and maybe even spiritually kind of fight against this change. One of the most powerful ways to push back against the encroachment of overconvenience in our everyday lives is to deliberately inconvenience yourself. And I'm not talking about making life harder for no reason. There's no reason to do that. What I'm talking about is engaging with activities that take time, effort, and thought, but ultimately reward you in ways that no algorithmically curated experience or tool ever could. For me, that journey started about a year ago when I decided to begin collecting vinyl records. Now, before you scoff at that, let me explain. I know it's annoying and cliche to hear the whole spiel, oh, listening to music on vinyl is just a different experience you can't get anywhere else. It's annoying, I know. The recent resurgence of interest in vinyl has kind of caused a lot of indie, artiste, alternative people to kind of brag and gloat about their hobby, but it's funny how cliches, despite being overused, often have a lot of truth to them. At first, it felt really counterintuitive to me. Why buy physical music when I could stream nearly any album ever made on Spotify? Why drive to a record store, sift through bins, and spend money on a single album when I could have instant access to millions of songs for a flat monthly fee? But here's what I discovered. The joy wasn't just in the music itself. It's in the process. When you commit to something like collecting vinyl records, you're choosing to immerse yourself in the journey, not just the destination. And I know that's really another cliche, but again, a bit of truth to it. It's not just about owning the music, it's about hunting for it. It's about flipping through stacks of albums, finding a gem you didn't even know existed, or stumbling across something a friend recommended months ago. It's about listening to an entire record front to back, hearing the artist's story unfold as they intended, instead of skipping around a playlist of isolated tracks. It's about taking 60 seconds to pull your favorite album, look over the artwork and design of the sleeve, and carefully place it on your turntable before dropping the needle and hearing that little... I've owned a Spotify subscription for about 6 years now, and I have 1,755 songs saved. Now, you'd think with a catalog that big, I'd never really get sick of using the app. And for the most part, I haven't. I still have a subscription, but I did realize that despite having that many songs saved and an infinite amount of unheard music to discover, I've still been playing the same 50 to 100 songs on repeat when I'm in the car or on a run, and it's gotten really repetitive. The Discover Weekly playlist is cool, but I find I can't really connect with new music in that format for some reason, and that connection is really the epitome of why we listen to music in the first place. Records are physical, tangible. You have to care for them, store them, clean them, and handle them gently. That level of engagement, it transforms the act of listening from a passive experience to an active one. And the reward is really immense when you get down to it. Through my collection, I've discovered artists I never would have discovered through an algorithm. I never would have found them on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. And I think because of that, I've really developed a deeper appreciation for music as an art form. And most importantly, I've created sort of a ritual, just a series of small, deliberate actions that slow me down and help me focus. That's something convenience cannot replicate. There's a record store down the street from me called Highland Square Records. It's a wonderful place. The owner, David, is a great guy, and they have a fantastic selection of music. And what I've gotten in the rhythm of doing is taking 10 minutes to walk down the street to the store every week or two without headphones, without using my phone. That alone is pretty hard for me, and I'll admit that. Frankly, I don't even feel embarrassed saying that anymore because it's no secret that my generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, even worse than us, is incredibly down bad with smartphone addiction and terrible attention spans. But anyways, I walk down there and I pick up 2 to 3 records that I've never heard before, usually oldies. The ones behind me, I've always been into old music. I can thank my dad for that. My dad and my mom, they've always played older music throughout the house growing up, and it's kind of inspired me to continue listening to that kind of music when I'm older. So all of these I found at the record store. Aside from like the Bob Dylan album, I've never heard of any of these artists. Now they're some of my favorites, and I listen to them on repeat all the time. But I pick up a few records I've never heard of. I walk back and I listen through the entire album front to back, either lying flat on my bed with my eyes closed or cooking or cleaning. Obviously not every song is going to be a hit, and sometimes I hate the entire album, but a lot of times there's 1 or 2 songs on that record that I play in my head religiously for the next month. And I never would have found that song on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube. How am I going to randomly stumble upon a Bola Sete album? Brazilian jazz from like the 60s. I'm not going to find that by scrolling through Spotify or on a recommendation from a friend. But hey, I grew up listening to jazz music and I played in a jazz band in high school. So I go through the jazz section and I picked this out, and it's one of my favorite albums now. I'm big on nostalgia. I love the Peanuts movies. They're my favorite thing to watch over the holiday. Vince Guaraldi, amazing jazz pianist. And after doing some research on this album, I realized Bola Sete had worked with him back in the day. Those are just the kind of connections and like cool things you learn by investing in physical media. And I feel like it's hard to do that and make those connections just through the internet or over an app. About 7 years ago, I was going through my freshman year of college. I was kind of having sort of a rough patch. It was hard making friends, finding things to do. I was a little reserved. I grew up in a small town and only had a few close friends that were no longer with me. And it was honestly really stressful. I was anxious all the time and I didn't have a ton of people I could talk to for advice. It just so happened that one night I went down a YouTube rabbit hole and found a channel called Yes Theory. Now, I won't go into too much detail about them because if you click on one of their videos, you're going to quickly realize what they're all about and what they do. It's a huge channel, but I do want to hit on one of their mottos because I think it's relevant to this video. Something they always say in their videos and promote to the people they interact with is to seek discomfort. Now, to them, that means traveling the world and trying new things every day. And obviously, the average person likely doesn't have the money or the means or even the drive to do something like that. But I think that motto can be broken down to fit all aspects of life, and particularly the point I'm trying to make in this video, which is avoiding convenience. It'll likely suck in the beginning. I only got into record collecting because I grew up listening to my dad play the Beatles on repeat every day, and it just so happened that my grandpa had an old beat-up stereo system in his basement that my dad was able to fix up for me. I hated the process of finding records and bringing them home, having some be scratched, not having instant access to music. It was a little annoying. Very annoying at first. I slowed down, trusted the process, and now it's probably my favorite hobby I've picked up as an adult. Collecting records is just one example, but the principle applies to so much in life. Cooking a new meal from scratch, going for a walk without your phone, writing a handwritten letter to a family member, or even just calling a close acquaintance rather than sending them a text message. These moments will remind you that sometimes the most rewarding experiences are actually the ones that take a little bit of work. Not a lot, just a little. And since they're little, you can really divvy those out and spread them throughout your life to give it just a tiny bit more meaning. Choosing inconvenience will reconnect you with your own humanity. It will remind you that being optimized or being instantaneous is not always beneficial in every scenario. The effort you put into something, no matter how small, it's going to add layers of satisfaction to your life. It's a form of mindfulness, a way of being present in what we're doing, slowing down, focusing, and reconnecting with the world around us. So the next time you have a moment of free time, I want you to stop for a second. Resist the urge to default to the easiest option. Instead, find a way to inconvenience yourself just a little bit. You might be surprised by how much it changes your perspective.